a 3-part series in the book of Judges. We're going to be taking a look at the life of Samson, the before, the during, and his final moments here on earth. Because there was a reason why Samson was placed here. There was a reason why his parents were blessed with his life. There is a reason behind everything that happens in Samson's life. And I want you during these next couple of weeks, these next few weeks, to approach Samson as you would approach your blessings in your life. Look at the life of Samson. Look at Samson himself as if he were your blessing. I know it's a little abstract, but today we're going to talk about Samson's parents being talked to by an angel of God about Samson. Now imagine yourself being Samson's parent and God talking to you about the blessings in your life, but not only the blessings, the purpose behind your blessings. Because often we are often recklessly and relentlessly seeking the blessings from God, always. And certain times, once we receive these blessings, we might not know how to handle them. We might not know how to guide them to the God-given purpose that they have. And it's crucial for us to understand that God places blessings in our lives, and those blessings have purpose. You see, God is a utility giver. And for you guys to understand this a little bit better, what I'm exactly talking about, when I was a little kid, even younger than the kid I am now, I would ask for my parents for Christmas, like Xboxes and, all those like electronics, like pretty things. And now when they're like, hey, what should I get you for Christmas? I'm like, socks. Why socks? Because I can use them. What else can I get you for Christmas? Maybe like a nice pair of tools or something that I can use. And in that same way, God gives. God places in our life things that we can use. He's not going to bless us with something that's just going to stand there and be pretty. He's going to bless us with something that He can use and that we can use as well. We need to learn the difference between blessings and worldly possessions, because there's a clear distinction. We might pray for the pretty things in life, maybe a new job, a new car, a new truck, but God reserves His blessings, and He really wants to bless us with things that we can use for ourselves so we can edify ourselves and for His purpose in our lives. And right now as we talk, and we're going to start reading Judges 13, and you can feel free to turn there while I kind of guide you with a little bit of context. Judges 13, we're talking about the life of Samson's parents, and we see here that his parents were born into a rebellious and stubborn culture. A culture that was misinformed on the purpose of God's blessings and God's movement. And this culture had doubts about God's capability and God's movement. And it's very similar to the culture we're living in now. A stubborn culture, a culture that even though God proves it time and time again, we're stubborn to it. And we question it. And we're unsure, and we doubt whether it's God at all or if it's God's movements at all. And even though God shows us continuously the signs and His love, we fall into the same sequence over and over again. So right now in Judges 13 we read, and it says, just verse 1 for now, and it says, "Again the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord. So the Lord delivered them into the hands of the Philistines for 40 years. Again, the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord." And if you keep reading Judges, and if you read any part, you'll see this. Most of the chapters start in a similar way, and it says, "Again, the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord. Again, 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 we've gone back to what God has separated us from. Again, we've fallen back into our addiction. Again, we've lost our faith. Again, we've fallen into sin. And because we're human, This isn't something that we should be surprised by, because we are born into sin and we are saved by grace. We're born into sin, and straying from sin is against our natural instinct. That's why it's very difficult for us to be Christians, because the whole time we're swimming against the current. The whole time when we're trying to separate ourselves from the things of the world and the things that give us bodily pleasure and the things that make us feel good for a second, we're fighting against the current. It's against what's happened when the first and original sin occurred. It's natural instinct for us to gravitate to certain things, but because we love God and because we're Christians, we must separate ourselves from them. As Christians, we must attempt to be obedient to God, to follow in the steps of Jesus Christ, who was pure and clean and sinless. It's what we should do. It's what we were destined to do. And the word continues to say, so the Lord delivered them into the hands of the Philistines. And here's the problem with how we might read this sometimes. We might read it as, so the Lord punished them. It's not what the word says. The word says, so the Lord delivered them into the hands of the Philistines. God doesn't punish us directly. God loves us. He's not going to strike us down. He's not going to send us disease. He's not going to get us fired, or he's not going to kill one of our family. He's not going to do that. God is love. He doesn't punish us directly, but what happens when we are disobedient is that we put our guard down. We put our guard down and we separate ourselves from the protection of God, and we start letting the enemy decide our seasons in our life. We separate ourselves from the light of God. We separate ourselves from his protection and his blood. And we start letting the devil decide when it's our season of harvest, when it's our season of captivity, our season of slavery. And I don't know about you, but I'm not one for letting the devil decide when it's my turn to harvest. I don't know about you, but I don't want the devil to decide what season I'm in. He has no control over my harvest and the blessings God places in my life, so why am I going to let him dictate when I receive them? But if we don't want him to dictate where we are and at what time we are, we must stop letting our guard down. Because it isn't God who's going to punish us directly, but us separating ourselves from him allows the attack to come in. See, God tells the Israelites, I will be the enemy of your enemy. He says, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. He tells them, don't worry about it, I have your back, but as a part of my covenant, I will be yours and you will be mine, but you have to have a relationship with me. You can't be disobedient to me. You can't bring your guard down, because the enemy will dictate the season you're in. And that's what the word says. The Lord delivered them. There's nothing he could do. I'm sure he went up there reluctantly and he said, there's nothing I can do. Here they are. They've strayed from me. I can't do anything. They have the free will. Whether they want to be with me or not, they no longer have my protection. They're no longer seeking me. And the word says that they were there for 40 years in the hands of the Philistines. This is crazy because numbers repeat themselves often in the Bible. And you see in 40 years that the Israelites were in the Bible, and 40 days that Jesus was tempted. 40 is an important number. But 40 years they were delivered into the hands of the Philistines. They were there and they were enslaved. They were captive. They no longer had free domain. They belonged to someone else. And oftentimes we let the effects and the attacks of the enemy take complete control over us and enslave us to certain things. enslaved to vices, enslaved to addictions, enslaved to lifestyles, enslaved to things that we shouldn't be enslaved to, but we're enslaved because of our disobedience to God, and there we are. And you might think and you might say, I'm there now, Pastor. I just can't seem to break these chains that I've been bound to. But here's the beautiful thing about it, that even in your season of slavery, in your season of captivity, God still moves. He's not waiting for you to be on top of the mountain. He can move in the valley. And this is what he does, exactly what he does. He comes up to him, up to the family of Samson, and he starts moving in their life, even though they are in captivity. Even though you've let your guard down and the enemy has dictated your season and he's dictated where you are and how you stand, God still moves. God still moves. He wants to start moving in you and moving in your future, regardless of where you stand now. But we can't let ourselves stray and be disobedient to what he has for us. In Judges 2 to 5, I'm going to read this, and feel free to follow along the New International Version. And it says, a certain man of Zorah named Manoah from the clan of the Danites had a wife who was childless, barren. Again, this is something that we see often in the Old Testament, being barren, unable to give birth. The angel of the Lord appeared to her and said, you are barren and childless, but you are going to become pregnant and give birth to a son. Now see to it that you do not drink wine or any other fermented drink, that you do not eat anything unclean. You will become pregnant and have a son whose head is to never be touched by a razor, because the boy is a Nazarite. Dedicated to God from the womb, he will take the lead in delivering Israel from the hands of the Philistines. I'm going to go on a side note here real quick. When the Bible talks about names that are important, and often they place more importance on the names than we do now. Now we're naming kids Xbox and Beyonce and all these crazy things. But back then when they named something, they gave it a purpose. So then it says, a certain man from Zorah named Manoah. And I said, these are crazy names. What do they mean? And Google is my best friend, so I Googled it. And it says that the city named Zorah, it meant leprosy. And the name Manoah meant rest. You see, they named the city after an all-consuming disease. If you're curious as to what leprosy is, it's a skin disease that would start, and it would start somewhere, and it would spread throughout your whole body. And it was so bad that cities would outcast people who had it, because it was bad and it was contagious. And in the same way was the culture they lived in. A rebellious and stubborn culture in this city, and they named it after the leprosy it kind of represented it. A stubborn culture that's contagious. A rebellious culture that's contagious. Stubbornness that's contagious. Your attitude is contagious. Your praise is contagious. The energy of your praise is contagious. Your lifestyle within your family is contagious. Your words are contagious. Everything you do is contagious. But they named this city, they didn't name it blessing or praise or God here dwells. They named it leprosy because it was harmful. This is where this man Manoah came from a place of harm, from a place of hurt, from a place of rebellion and stubbornness. But God says, you will not be called anything even related to it. Your name is rest, Manoah, because in me you will find it. In me you will find tranquility. In me you will find the rest you so much seek. And listen closely, Manoah, because here the cycle of your culture will come to a rest with you. And in the same way God's speaking to you, it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what your household was, or how contagious their attitudes were, or the way they served God, or if they even served God at all. It doesn't matter. You can all put it to rest now. In me. Trust me, because I have bigger and better things planned for you, he tells them. That is your name, and your name's what matters. What I tell you who you are is what matters. You're a son of God. You've been set apart. You are different is what matters, not where you come from. And it's important for us to grasp this before we even start talking about God's blessings in our lives. Because oftentimes we try to deny God's blessings because of where we come from in life. We say, you don't know where I come from. I don't deserve any of this. You don't know what I've done. I don't deserve any of what God's going to do. And I'm here to tell you the past is the past. The only thing that matters is the future. That's why God moved in captivity, and he didn't move. He didn't just move when they were free. So hold on to that and kind of digest that. It's crucial that we understand that. So the angel of the Lord comes to Manoah's wife, who is unnamed, and he tells her, you will have a child. You will have a blessing. You will not be barren your whole life. Your time is now. And even though you haven't seen your blessing, here it comes. It's time for a change. But he doesn't just say this. He tells her, your blessings come with instructions. And it's important that you develop your blessings so that your blessings can fulfill their purpose. Because the promise of your blessings come with a promise of its purpose. Like I said, God's a utility giver. He's going to give you something that you can use. And it says, you will raise this boy, and he shall never have anything fermented, and neither shall you while you are pregnant, and you will never cut his hair. Follow the instructions. And I don't know about you, but I'm horrible at following instructions. As a matter of fact, I throw them out at the beginning because I think it's part of the fun, figuring out why there's 6 screw holes and 10 screws. But when we approach God's blessings, we need to approach him and follow his instructions closely. Because if not, what God has placed in our life won't develop. It'll just be there, and it won't fulfill the use that God has for it. So God tells Manoah's wife, I need you to follow my instructions. Don't kill your breakthrough because of a cold brew. She essentially says, don't kill what I'm about to do just because you're caught in this cycle of disobedience. Don't let what you're used to kill what I'm about to do. I'm about to put breakthrough in your life. And Manoah gets excited like anyone would when something new and fresh and God is moving in their life. And she goes and she tells her husband. And I don't know if this husband had trust issues or what was going on with this man, but he said, are you sure? And he said, I need to talk to God directly. And he says, God, please, I kind of don't believe anything this woman is saying. Send your angel back again so I can hear it directly from the horse's mouth, so I can hear it directly from the source. I need to hear it directly. And you can see kind of his trust issues expand when he says, were you the one that was talking to my wife? And this man insecure, and then le sale el machismo, y ahí está, are you the one that's talking to my wife? He says, tell me again what we must do. Tell me again. And the angel repeats to him And this is the third time he has to repeat himself. He repeats to him the instructions. And it says, you will have a son, and you should not have anything fermented, and you should not cut his hair, because God is going to use him to bring down the Philistines. Please don't make me repeat myself again. You need to have a better year. You need to have better communication with God. And here the man is happy. And it's happy because God is going to place a blessing with a purpose in his life. And that's something we must get used to. We should get used to that even though we might pray for the pretty, God is going to place the functional in our life. Because a lot of the times, and I tell this to my leaders who think we have an endless and unlimited budget, and they have these crazy ideas. They want to put a roller coaster in the church, all these crazy ideas. And I tell them, you might ask for a unicorn, but God might give you a donkey, and the donkey does a better job of getting you where you need to go. So even though you ask for the pretty, God's going to put the functional in your life, because it's going to get you where you need to go. It might not be as pretty, but it'll get the job done. It might not be what you prayed for, but it will get the job done. And a lot of times we pray and we say, God, and these are our prayers, God, please bless me with the new F-250 diesel Texas edition leather seats. You know what I'm praying for, God. You've seen me staring at it the whole time. And when God places an F-150, textile seats, and the clutch sticks a little bit, and it has a broken taillight in the back, we say, God, I don't think you heard my prayers, God. I prayed for the pretty thing, and God says, I gave you the functional. It'll get you where you need to go. And oftentimes we pray and we say, God, Lord, I need to be the CEO of my company, God. And God says, hold on, let me place you as manager so you can impact more people. It'll get you where you need to go. There is purpose behind your placement in life. God places you strategically. Be prepared to be given something God can utilize. You were given your job for a purpose. You were placed in your job for a purpose. There's a reason behind why you make the money you make. There's a reason behind why you have the friends you do. There's a reason why you're in the relationship you do. There's a reason behind the blessing God places in your life. And we can't get upset when they're not as pretty as we thought they were going to be. God places something we can utilize, not always what we were expecting. And here's the thing about this conversation that Manoah's wife originally has with the angel, is that the angel is very clear in everything he says. He doesn't say, you will have a child. He says, you will have a boy. He doesn't say, the instructions will come attached to the boy. He says, these are your instructions, and listen closely. You will not drink. You will not have anything fermented. You will not cut his hair. He will be a Nazirite, separated from the rest. These are your instructions. And then when he talks about the blessing's purpose, he's also very clear. He doesn't say he will bring down your enemies. He says he will bring down the Philistines. You see, because when God is going to bless you, he's clear. He's going to tell you exactly what he's going to bless you with, what you need to do with that blessing, and then the purpose behind it. There's no doubt in any of this. You see, because there can't be uncertainty where there's faith. It's a paradox. They don't work together. You can't have one and have the other. You can't have uncertainty if you have faith, and if you have faith, there is no uncertainty. You can't doubt the meaning of your blessing if you have faith in the one who placed it there. You can't doubt God's hand if you have faith in him. Faith kills your uncertainty. Faith relieves you of the doubt that is going to lead you to disobedience. You see, if you have faith in what God's doing and what God's going to do in your life, there's no reason to be disobedient to Him because you know the blessings are coming. You need to have faith. It starts there. Faith in what He's doing, what He's going to do, and the purpose behind everything He's placed in your life. So we come back to Manoah, who doesn't understand the process. He doesn't have the faith required. You see, people at times won't understand the process you're going through because their process isn't for them. See, the angel of God spoke to Manoah's wife for a reason. He didn't speak to Manoah for a reason. See, God was pulling Manoah's wife out of being barren. He wasn't pulling him out of being barren. He spoke to her. People might not understand the process of your blessing like you do because it's not for them. It's about you and God and you alone. Let Him develop your process and your blessing. Let Him develop you according to what He wants for you. And even though people might tell you you're crazy and they might not understand it, it's not for them. So that's why Manoah is going crazy. I don't understand it. What are these instructions, God? What am I doing here? And this is exactly the conversation he has with him. He says, a man of God came to me, she tells Manoah, the wife. He looked like an angel of God. Very awesome. I didn't ask him where he came from, and he didn't tell me his name. But he said to me, you will be pregnant and have a son. Now then, drink no wine or any fermented drink, and do not eat anything unclean, because the boy will be a Nazirite of God from the womb until the day of his death. Then Manoah prayed to God and said, pardon your servant, Lord. You're going to have to repeat yourself. I beg you to let the man of God you sent down to us come again to teach us how to bring the boy who is to be born. God, I don't know how to handle your blessings. I don't know how she's going to handle your blessings. I need you to repeat the instructions you already gave to me. God, I didn't like what I heard the first time. Are you sure? Can you repeat it to me one more time? And then the man came down, the word says. And Manoah tells him, when your words are fulfilled, what is to be the rule that governs the boy and the work? And the angel of the Lord repeats himself. Has to repeat himself again, but the instruction is already clear. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean that it isn't what God has planned for you. Just because you don't like it, because it's not as pretty as you thought, doesn't mean that God isn't going to utilize it. Don't let anyone or yourself distract you from the path that He has laid out for you. Don't let the culture that you were born into, the stubbornness, distract you from what God is going to do in your life and the blessings He has planned for you. Don't let anyone distract you from that. And this final point, which I think is very important, is don't praise the messenger, praise He who sends the message. Manoah said to the angel, please stay until we have prepared a young goat for you. And the angel of the Lord tells him, even though you detain me, I will not eat any of your food. Instead, prepare a burnt offering and offer it to the Lord. But Manoah says, what is your name? Angel, what is your name? So that we may honor you when your word comes true. And the angel, obviously frustrated with the way Manoah is comporting himself, says, my name doesn't matter. The messenger doesn't matter. He who delivers the message doesn't matter. He who delivers the blessing doesn't matter. It's he who sends it. Because a lot of the times we get caught up in the delivery of the message that we forget to praise he who delivers it, who sends it. A lot of the times we'll be saying, wow, it's awesome that my boss promoted me. He must really like me. It must be my hard work. And we forget about the favor that has been placed in our lives. A lot of the times we say, oh God, it's awesome that my husband is coming to church. It's awesome. And we forget about the movement and the prayers he has answered so that he could start coming. We focus so much on the process of it that we forget about he who sends it. We can't separate ourselves like that. He sends the blessing, and it's he who deserves praise, not the messenger. And the angel makes it very clear. Why do you ask my name? Do not praise me. Instead, praise God who sends the blessing your way. It's strange for us. Because we live in this culture of stubbornness. This culture of self-praise. It might make you uncomfortable for me to tell you that your blessings come from God because you might work hard. It is God who opens the door, and it is you who pushes yourself through. And it might make you uncomfortable to hear that it is because of God that you have what you have. It might make you uncomfortable, and I've been in your position, and I said, God, why do they tell me to keep praising you when I've worked hard? I think I've earned it, God. Why? Why do they keep saying glory to God when it's been me who's working? You've been here, God, and I've struggled with that. And it's taken faith to understand that it is he who opens the doors and our hard work that gets us through it. And we get caught up and we self-praise and we say, oh, it must be us. It must be me. I'm the deliverer of this blessing. I'm the one who brought it into my life. And we forget that it is God who sends it. And it is us who receives it. And that the methods might be unconventional. And that the methods might be strange. But it is he who places it in our lives. I'm going to ask you to stand to your feet and give God a big round of applause this morning. Today, as we get